Christina, and what I do is explore mental health and tools and ways to manage it. We all know that mental health is like that key term that we're hearing nowadays, but people really deal with their mental health. And I just believe that there are ways that we can manage it and get through it. I spoke about that. The Bible says that, you know what? I meant to make sure it was Paul last night with this thorn in his flesh. I'm pretty sure it's Paul, but I need to look that up because I'm not going to keep saying Paul and it's not Paul. And then somebody listening and they like, it's not Paul. But he had a thorn in his flesh and he asked the Lord to take it from him like 3 times. And the Lord told him that his grace was sufficient. So that means that that the Lord has given him what he needed to deal with that thorn, that thing that wouldn't go away. So I came to a place in my walk with my mental health that I used to deny that I had this thing and not really outwardly deny it because I was diagnosed in college, but I never really embraced it or accepted it. But I think that's something maybe that I grew up with that, you don't claim that thing. Like, okay, you're not claiming it, but it's claiming me.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, I'm going through it. So, but I finally came to a place where I looked at the scriptures and I said to myself, wow, God's grace is sufficient. So he's given me the ability to manage this. And I wanted to make a platform where we could really talk about mental health. I can explore ways that people are really managing it and dealing with it and how they even came to a place of realizing like this is something that I have in me that I need to manage. And that's what this platform is for. So I thank you, Miss Natalie Tillman, for being here with me. And we're just going to dive into some things and talk about how you manage your mental health. But first, let's talk about how that process came about. Because I asked you, I thought it was postpartum that brought it on because I know you had a baby and then like you kind of like went off kilt. So I thought it was postpartum, but explain to me exactly what it was.
So I even thought about that the other day when you brought that up because I started thinking back and I was like, well, is it? Could it be? So I really can't say whether or not it has anything to do with postpartum.
Okay.
So about 2 years ago, it's been 2 years. Wow. About 2 years ago, it was at the beginning of the year, I started feeling like just not myself. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in the world. Like, who am I? I lost my smile. Wow. I stopped talking, like distancing myself, especially my family. So my kids and my husband, like I just started distancing myself. I would sleep downstairs. You could leave, go somewhere. I'm there. You can come back at night.
You're there.
I'm still there. And so I started thinking about it then. I'm like, okay, yeah. And at the time, he was actually telling me, oh, you're depressed. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But it's something more than that. At least that's what I thought it was, or that's what I felt it was. And actually that the month before I had started back working, I had been off for about 3 years. And so I was working and I'm like, maybe I'll get to it. I just don't know what it is. And one day I was at work and all of a sudden my heart started palpitating, like beating really, really, really fast. And the only thing kept circulating in my mind was scream, girl, you got to scream. And I'm like, Lord, I cannot scream in these people's establishment.
Now, wait, this is the new job that you're on.
Not the one before.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I can't scream. I don't know. I just can't scream. These people building.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, because I'm in the medical field,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a patient. I was speaking with a patient over the phone, and I'm listening to
When
what she's
you're
saying,
going through
but
this and you're on the phone with
I'm
the
on the
patient.
phone with
Okay.
the patient,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hearing what she's saying,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not listening to what she's saying because I still have this going through my. And all of a sudden, the back of my neck, it started tensing up, and I'm like, okay, I really gotta get off of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And my eyes started filling up with water, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait. And so I finally hung up. Can't tell you what that conversation was about. Can't tell you what the patient wanted because I don't know.
We're not going to talk about the business that she worked at. And we're concerned about this patient that didn't get their needs fulfilled that day.
I'm just saying it was a wrong, bad time. So I got up, and at that moment I was like, okay, I need to go outside or something. I just need to go outside. And
Mm-hmm.
when I turned around at the moment, my office manager at the time, she approached me and she was talking to me about something. I don't know what she was saying to me. Literally, Tori, I don't know what she was saying. All I was hearing was, womp, womp, womp. My head was clouded,
Oh,
everything.
gosh.
And the only thing I could see was me I literally saw myself come out of myself and jump on this lady. Literally. No, when I saw that,
Wait
it
a minute.
scared me. Yes, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. It scared me. And so I was like, hey. Before I knew it, I was like, hey. I said, I don't know what you're saying to me right now. I said, I need a break. I need about 5 minutes. Just give me some time. I said, I just need 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked out the office, walked to the car, sat in the car, closed the door, and I screamed as loud as I could. I just screamed.
Mm-hmm.
And so
That makes me feel bad. I'm like, oh, like you had to go through that.
And so it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting in the car. I'm just breathing at this point, and so I took a moment. I actually spoke to a friend of mine, and he was like, you know what? He prayed actually. He
Mm-hmm.
prayed,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." So I sat there for a minute, and then I went back inside. And when I left that day, I went home, and I was like, I know what it is. Like it's anxiety. It's something going on. I know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I need help.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for me to help myself at that moment, I felt like I needed to be selfish. So I was selfish towards kids. I was selfish towards my husband. I told him things that I wouldn't dare say
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you can't be with me on this next phase of my life because I'm going to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be fair to you for me to start doing what I'm going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you there with me.
So do you feel like you got to that point because you weren't being selfish? Like what brought on the idea of I need to be selfish?
Everything was about everybody else except for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I was feeling.
So
Like I'm doing so much. The kids, I have to be a wife. I'm working. And I think the stress of it all,
mm-hmm.
it just finally came to a head. That's what I felt. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just like, okay, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an employee. Like
It was a lot.
where am I
Right.
in all of this? Where do I fit
Right.
in all of this? Like this.
So that's why I learned that we will not call this mental illness. We will call it mental health because being healthy is a part of taking care of yourself. So that's self-care. So you were missing the self-care. You're pouring out to everyone else, and then you find yourself in this place of depression, and you're dealing with anxiety. And so you start going to the doctor, and what? How do you even get to you
So
decide to go to the doctor? Because that's a big deal. Because, like I said, I just came to a place where I accepted, but I've been going
through it.
and I've been going to the doctor. Like, I've been getting meds since I was in college. But as far as like getting like therapy, I just started because I really, let me tell you, was like, I don't need therapy because I have dealt with all of my demons. I have been washed in the blood of the Lamb. And I don't need that. But there was a certain person that came into my life like, you better talk to somebody. And so I followed his advice, and it really helped. It really helped because I think it's more than just one thing in order to manage your mental health. It's not just the medication. It's not just your, what you do for exercising, your eating habits, and even your spiritual habits. All of those things together help you manage your mental health. So when you went to the doctor, what was that like? Like, how did you get there?
So I got there after I had the girls' weekend for my birthday 2 years ago. So after that, I decided, I was like, okay, it's time. I need to speak with somebody. And a friend of mine, she told me about who she sees because she also goes through the same thing. So I was like, okay. So I made an appointment and I started seeing her. And day one was like, as they give you those questions like, when do you feel this way? Or on a scale from 1 to 10.
And you're like, lady, I messed up.
Listen.
Okay.
She asking me
what? I don't know. My mind is messed up right now.
I told her, I said, any question you ask me in the state that I'm in, I shut down because I'm at that point. I don't want questions.
Right.
Like I can't deal with questions.
You have to get through that layer.
And so, anyway, so she, at the end of it, we talked for a little bit. We didn't dive right in. And then at the end of it, she was like, okay, so, yeah, you have depression and anxiety, which most people in the world have.
Right.
But you're deciding to do something about it. And that's the first step. So, on that visit, she prescribed me a medication, and it was a low dose. It is Zoloft, and we started out at 1, and I'm on 2.5 now. But you gotta manage it. You have to go back and forth, see what works.
I feel like, and I've talked to someone in the clinical field of this, and it is actually what works for you, because it all is about chemical imbalances. And so you have to find that balance for yourself. So if that's what it is, and that's what it is. I have found that the more that I focus on my spirituality, I focus on how I eat, I focus on those other things, I am able to lower my dosage, based on what I'm doing in the other areas. But it's all a work, and it's all figuring yourself out, and I said before, like, self-awareness is the biggest thing, because you have to be aware of what you need and what works for your body, and what are your triggers, what really sets you off, and how do you to deal with those particular triggers in different situations. So yeah. So out of you get to the doctor, they prescribe you medicine. Now, does the medicine by itself is working for you, or?
So in the beginning, it was, and actually at the dosage that I'm at now, it still does, but I can't lie and say that I don't do other things that I think helps, and not think I know it. I feel it within my body that just helps me to be leveled out. One thing about me right now is all I want is peace.
Yes.
That's it. That's it.
Just some peace.
That's it. And so with this, it helps me with my
Peace.
peace. It
Right.
just does. It just does. I know when I'm without it, how I am. Like
Right.
it ain't good, or I'll shut down, or I'm ready to go.
Right.
So with it, it levels me.
Yeah, I found that the medication by itself, or whatever, chemicals that you use to regulate your mood or your hormones or your mind, that it doesn't make it go away though. It does not. It's not a cure all. It does not disappear. Because the thing is still there. The medication just helps you to be able to manage it. It puts it in a way that, like, you can still hear. I don't want to say hear those voices, but you can still feel those emotions, but they don't overtake you. You're able to step back and say, okay, how am I going to handle this? I don't know. It just, for me, I can speak for myself. It gives me a little time between 1 and 100. So I don't go from 1 to 100 real quick. I just go there real slowly, and then I can make some better decisions
before I
along
get
the way. Okay. Yeah, because when I have been without it, I've had those manic episodes, and they're not fun. And I talked about, like, being kind of embarrassed that, this is something that I struggle with, and because you live a certain way outside of it, everybody doesn't get to see this part of you. Everybody doesn't know that Natalie has dealt with depression and anxiety. They see your life and they're like, oh, especially with social media. Everybody, you're going to put out the best part. I'm not going to show y'all when I'm going through my phases. That is not nothing y'all want to see.
It's none of your business. What is your business is what I choose
to subscribe to her. She's not doing well. No, but I will give the world the best part of me, and those that love me the most can love me through those inconsistencies.
That's what we'll call them.
That's what we'll call them.
No, but that's true. I mean, even social media, but even family members that you think you're close, and you do have a close relationship with, but in your mind you're thinking, dang, like, if I tell them this, then
I have family members that I talk about it with. I don't know if they necessarily, I don't want to say believe me.
Yes, but that's the truth.
It is. And I talked with my another guest, and I was telling her that, people will tell you, like, you can do something about it or you can control it. Yeah, you're right. I can manage it, but that takes a lot of me to manage it. And I have to be very intentional about the management of my mental health. So when you were talking about being selfish, that's a part of your management system. So I need to put some attention on myself, because when you're happy, then you can make other people happy. But when you're not happy and you're not well,
everybody's miserable.
Yes, because we're going to make sure.
Everybody's miserable. I just, but that's one thing that I had to learn to do too, is to become happy with myself. No matter what, I can't expect anybody else.
Right.
To make me happy.
Right.
Or to even have agency over my happiness.
Thank you. That's good. You cannot have agency over my happiness, because then that means everything outside of you is controlling whether you're happy or not.
Exactly.
Whether you have joy or not. And it should be an internal thing.
It should be. So that's one thing that I really, 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 really had to work on getting back, because I know how to show face real good. Okay. Right. I've adapted to that.
I think we were taught that. What happens in this house stays in this house. When you go over there, you don't talk about my business in my house.
That's right.
Stays in this house. So we're good at masking for the world and making sure we keep things private. And I think things should be, at a certain extent, certain things should be private, because people will use things against you. But I think there is liberty in being transparent also, and
It
it
is.
helps other people. So that's why we're here at Sit With Me, is to help people get free with their mental health, learning how to manage it. And even as you hear the stories on this podcast, that maybe you'll recognize some of the symptoms that you have, and you haven't even come to a place where you're realizing, well, am I depressed or am I dealing with anxiety? But as you hear the other stories, you're like, okay, I can identify with that. So let me get some help. And it's okay to get some help. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay not to be okay. And
Oh, definitely.
that was me. I was not okay with not being okay. I'm like, what is wrong?
Can't handle this.
No, like it should not be
I
me.
do.
But
Mm-mm.
this is the thorn that God has given me in my flesh, and I am still like you will hear me repeat over and over again. I am believing for the total healing and deliverance
Mhm.
in the spirit realm from this thing. But as I'm dealing with it and working with it, I know that it is my duty to manage it.
Yeah.
It's not okay to just allow yourself to be off kilt,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
he's given us the tools to be able to manage it. So out of you finding out, okay, so now you're working through the process, you're getting therapy, you're receiving the medications, you're doing whatever else that you need to do, then you come up with what? This idea.
I come up with, well, I start writing.
Uh-huh.
I started writing, and because that's what I used to do before.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, maybe I can birth something out of this.
Uh-huh.
Because you do, even if it's not something you're sharing, when you go through a journey, you want to get something out of it. You want to take something from it.
Right.
So I started writing, and then I started coming up with these little quotes
Mhm.
that would help me. And so I'm like, I'm rebirthing myself. I'm going through a, transformation, butterflies. That's
Butterflies always transform.
Oh gosh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I'm like, black as I'm going, the pain and everything, but I'm coming out of it. I'm coming out of it. So I came up with Black Butterfly Fairy.
Mhm.
Fairy just is the overall beauty of the whole transformation,
Mhm.
because I've been reborn.
Okay.
I've rebirthed myself. And so as you know, a whole lot of ideas came from that. And not
that's
only
okay.
you, everybody was like, just pick one. That's it. Pick one and run with it.
I can't even talk about anybody. I don't know how many occupations I have had over these 43 years. It's been many. And I'm not ashamed. And I might be a lawyer next year or something. Like, if whatever I decide I want to do.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so, so I came out with that, and that's like, I want to pour into women more, especially
Mhm.
because we all have journeys. Everybody have journeys, men included.
Mhm.
But for me, I'm a woman.
Mhm.
And I know we go through a lot.
Yeah.
We go through a lot. And so I just want to come up with something where I can pour into women, and then we can share each other's journeys. Because there is something to learn from everybody. Just when you think, oh, okay, I got that down. I got that down. Somebody else has went through the same thing, but got something else out of it. So you're like, oh, okay, you know what? Yeah, I can get that out of it too. So I eventually want to start hosting.
You are going to start hosting. Repeat after me. I am going to start hosting
events where women can come together from all walks of life and just sharing each other's
So, are we
journey.
talking about the sisters brunch?
We are.
Okay, can you elaborate? Like, I got an attitude right now because I'm really excited about sisters brunch.
Okay. So sisters brunch actually started with my sisters,
Mhm.
my blood sisters. And we meet once a month. We cook with one another, and we became closer because we are experiencing that together. We're sharing those memories together. So out of that, I was like, oh, we can really do a sisters brunch for everybody.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm pat down.
It's a little pressure. Sometimes you need a little pressure.
So I'm working on it because that's something. It's a good fellowship.
Yes.
Just women coming together,
right,
sharing with each other. And so how I'm imagining putting it together right now, it's in my imagination. Okay, and I'm writing it down. So it's coming. It's coming. I promise it's coming.
Yes, we're gonna keep applying this pressure. It is. What's your name on social media?
So you can follow my business page at BBF underscore LLC, and then me. What is mine? I think it's in.
Okay, we'll just go with BBF.
Yes, honey.
BBF underscore LLC. Please follow her and put in the comments, when is the sisters brunch?
It's coming.
All right, so good. So I think that's the beautiful side, and that's the butterfly side, and that's the transformational side, is that this terrible thing happened to you. You were going through it. It disturbed your whole entire household. And now you're coming out of it, and you've birthed this new organization, and you're going to make it beautiful, and we're going to have sister brunches.
Okay.
And that is so amazing. So share with me some other ways that you are able to manage your mental health. You already talked about being selfish. You already talked about the medications. Like, what else do you do that really helps you?
So breathing.
Like breathing exercises?
Breathing exercises.
Really?
Especially if I feel it coming on. I stop what I'm doing. I close my eyes. I count to 10, and I just breathe in between me counting. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. And then I start rubbing my hands together. For this right here.
Yeah.
If you see me doing this, okay, she's going through something.
Yeah,
she gotta rub it out.
My therapist actually, it's called something. I can't remember what the name of it, but he gave me this. Like, if you do rub your hands together like this, and then also rubbing yourself like this.
Yes,
it does bring a calm. And I've actually, what was funny about it, when he taught me it, I was like, oh, because when I get ready to go, like I said, 1 to 100. So those manic phases, when I feel it coming on, I could do this. So just like you feel your anxiety, I could feel those phases coming on, and I could do this. But this really helps. But it's so funny, like when I'm in worship, I do this. And so I was like, oh my God, that's so funny that I use the same motion, but it's a place of comfort,
right?
You know, so it's like you're comforting yourself, self-care. You're not looking for someone else to comfort you. You're taking control of your mental health, and you're managing it. So that's good. So breathing, you have these that you do.
And the other thing I do, I'll call Warren Lee, honey.
Who is Warren Lee?
I call my husband, honey. Okay. Call him. And we're now at that point where he knows exactly what to say to me.
That's so good.
And I appreciate that.
So it's like it's a support system.
He's very, very, very.
You have to have, like, especially those that are close to you. Like I said, everybody outside may not know that you're dealing with this, but those people that are closest to you that know that you're dealing with that, if they have the compassion to help you get through those things, that's just wonderful. Big ups to Warren Lee. We're giving them big props for being that support system, you know. And for those of you that are considering that, you know, maybe you need to look more at your mental health, like look at your circle, you know, look at those people that are surrounding you. Are they willing and compassionate enough to support you in your journey? Because I found that sometimes some people you're going to have to close out maybe just for a season in order for you to get well.
Yep.
Because it's important for you to get well.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like a journey to wellness, a journey to wholeness.
You do. You go through different phases. And I know I did. I
Uh-huh.
went through, but even looking back on those different phases that I went through,
Mhm.
I appreciate it.
Mhm.
I don't regret it
Right.
at all.
Right.
Because it took me going through that
Uh-huh.
for me to get to where I'm at, where I
Right.
am now. So,
Absolutely. So we went and changed our story.
mm-mm,
No.
mm-mm,
Okay.
no,
All
no.
right. So
Even the things like shan't reveal.
oh
Yes,
my God.
I
Let's not
appreciate.
I don't know what you're talking about. To to the sea of forgetfulness shall never be revealed. Thank you for the sea, Lord. Thank you for the
Yes.
sea. Shando.
Okay. Let me give a good shout now.
Come on.
Okay.
I get it in. Cha cha.
Okay.
Yes, Lord.
So
Hallelujah.
yes, I appreciate every
Yes, but
phase.
and you know what? What's so funny is like when I talked about the thorn in your flesh and that his grace is sufficient. So he gives you the tools to go through it. I also got revelation that his grace is sufficient, that he covers that. He covers all of those mess ups along the way of your journey. Like, so whatever you're dealing with mentally and what it causes, because there are consequences to your behavior.
Oh,
When you're dealing with your mental health and you're
definitely.
acting out, it is your responsibility. And I think a lot of us that deal with mental health issues, like, we don't take responsibility for it. Like, then that's what we're here is to help you manage it so that you can take responsibility for your mental health, because you affect everyone that's around you. And that's
Definitely.
when I decided to get really serious about it, because I started to recognize how it was affecting the people around me. And that's not fair. No, it's not fair to me that I have this issue, but it's not fair
not
to me
fair
to
to-
be reckless with it and not manage it. So I had to look at that, and yeah, but God's grace is sufficient as you're going through your mental health issues. Like, you will go through things that are super embarrassing. Those manic episodes are not fun. Those anxiety breakdowns in the office is not cool when people are looking at you like, what is
What's
wrong with you? Okay. And you can't express yourself and you got to go to the car and scream.
Definitely.
I've had pullovers. Let me pull over and just, let loose. But God's grace covers that. Like, nobody, you didn't scream in the office.
No, I didn't.
Like,
was
he
good.
allowed you to make it to the car, and that's his grace. So
Small
nobody, you know what I'm
blessings.
saying? Like, his grace is sufficient.
Yeah, it
He
is.
is going to cover you. God did not give you this for it to be an embarrassment to you. There is something that he wants to work out through you, that use it to help somebody else, because it's never really about us.
Oh, never.
So he gives us things that he knows that we can handle. So I love that. So his grace is sufficient. All right, Miss Natalie, is there any other thing that you would like to share with our audience before we log off?
If you're going through a journey, embrace it. Embrace it. Take what you can from it. Learn from it. There's something good at the end of it. Trust me. Trust me.
There's something good at the end of it. Yes. God is working all things together. It's my favorite scripture. I know it's like so cliche, but
It is
he's
true, though.
working. Yeah, he's really working all things together for our good. The good, the bad, the nasty parts that we don't want nobody to know, that we know that's in the sea of forgetfulness. Way back then. But even those things, like, it's all working together for your good. So please think about your mental health and doing exactly what you need to take responsibility of it and handle it. And there is help available to you. Please don't ever think that you're alone, because you're not. And there are people out there that are professionally trained to handle whatever you're going through. And also, there are people that God has set aside to walk with you through this process. So please don't give up. If you ever need help, please, if it's emergency, even with your mental health, go to your local emergency room. If it's that, you know what I mean? Like, even, I wouldn't even say I don't want to say if it's that serious. It's that serious. If you're going through it, like, and you feel that there's no way out, and we go through those suicidal thoughts. We go through where we want to jump on somebody in the office. Look, I had one. I was going to throw my whole computer.
I saw it.
But those manic phases, they can be handled. Go to your local emergency room. There's always a way out. God has given us a way of escape. We talked about calling 211. That's like a national hotline to get help.
Definitely.
And do you know any other resources that you could share?
Not offhand. Hopefully before you air this, you can have something on the screen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just asked because some people, have other tools. But I know, like, we talked about, like, the emergency room. Going to the emergency room is the quickest way to get your case in action.
You tell them that
they're going to take care of you from top to bottom, and you're going to get everything that you need. So don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Go, and don't let anybody talk you out of it, because you know you. You are self-aware. You know you, and you know what you need. So get the help that you need. We thank you for listening in on Sit With Me. I am your host, Tori Christina. Thank you, Mrs. Natalie Tillman, for being here and sharing your story. I hope you guys got something out of this today. Stay tuned for our next podcast.